Morning, everybody. I'm Brad Moppin from the South Dakota DOT. One thing that they asked me to kind of touch on this morning was innovations that we've come across in South Dakota. I got some bullets here. It says, do more with existing equipment, replace older equipment with modern equipment, and demands that make us go outside the box. But one of the things that we're running into in South Dakota is a lot of it's personnel, trying to get personnel. So one of the big things we've been challenged with is how do we do more with the equipment we got with less personnel, basically. But in the process of doing this, don't spend any more money to do it. So some of the things that we've done, we've looked at a lot of our routes and stuff. And especially when we get on interstate, multi-lane, we've been adding a lot of dual wings to our trucks. And what this does is gives the driver the opportunity to be able to clear the shoulders, whether they're running the driving lane or the passing lane. Because a lot of our trucks right now, we either equip with a right wing or a left wing, depending on which lane that truck's assigned to. But this gives them a lot more opportunity, if that second driver isn't there, to be able to go out there and clear off the road, depending on which lane they're in. Another thing that we looked at and we started getting into this year was the Bi-Directional Tow Plow. We've been watching what the one-way tow plows have been doing. We didn't, as a state, buy into the one-ways. We just weren't comfortable. You were limited to what you could do, but this last year they come out with a bi-directional that you can swing left or right. We went and did some studies this last summer and last winter and this summer with it. And we found that there's a lot of places that we can use these that we don't have to have a second truck come back and either clean off shoulders and different things like this. The biggest thing we seen, was cost savings in these too. The price per mile that we kind of got figured out to run one of these, where you don't have to have a second truck there, you're saving about $1.39 a mile, doing this. But it also will help the guys be able to meet their standards we have out there. Because one of the big things that we run into all the time, we get some pretty massive snowstorms up there to where we even shut the interstates down. But an hour after it quits snowing, the traffic thinks they need to be out there at 80 mile an hour again. So, so anything that we can do to utilize, pieces of equipment like this, whether it's a tow plow, we've got into some bigger wings and things like that. Another thing that we started doing this year was putting some squeegees on our plows. And where we're seeing the benefit of this is our snow up there, we get a lot of slushing up there, but we get real fast freeze points back too, because our temperatures are usually around that 10 to 20 degrees. We get enough salt applied that it turns the snowpack to slush, and then we can start plowing it off. But it always leaves that film of slush and water on the road. So in the western regions, we've been running these squeegee blades, testing them, and we're actually finding out that they're working pretty good, because a lot of our roads got ruts in them. These squeegee plows will actually fall into the ruts of the road and actually push that water off, so we don't have so much freezing coming back, which ultimately saves us a lot, in having to go out and reapply salt and stuff, just because we don't have that ice buildup on the roads right away again. Another thing that we've been running into, is replacing some of our older equipment. Up there we got, like I said, we deal with deep snow up there. We're getting, our big fleet is a lot of the AASHOs and stuff. And they're very expensive anymore to try to repair, if you can even find parts for them. So here a couple of years ago, we actually started trying to figure out a good truck to replace it. You know, in this couple pictures here, what kind of snow that we deal with and why we need them big trucks. This is out around, well, this is a good example of some of the underpasses we deal with that, you know, because we get such high crosswinds during a blizzard up there, it'll actually plug our underpasses on the interstates. This is what the snow looks like out across the flat. There's 48 inches of snow out across the flat there. Without our big trucks, our tandems get out there and they'll push snow until they just spin out. They can't push it anymore. So we actually have to come through there with one of the big trucks and open it up with a V-plow. But what we did is, you know, we went through and looked at all the truck manufacturers and stuff, and Mack actually had, you know, a pretty good fit for a truck for us to replace the AASHOs. It's an all-wheel drive truck. You know, but the cost factor involved in it, you know, you can get one of these Macks built up with the same setups of what we had on the AASHOs for about half the price. You know, one of the other things that we were challenged with, you know, as our director, you know, when we started doing this, you know, he come to us, you know, we kind of told him what we were going to do, and he says, well, that's fine as long as you build it to where you can haul a legal load on our highways. So that kind of put a twist in things a little bit too. So what we ended up doing is we actually moved our benching wing from the front of the truck and mounted it on the rear of the truck. You know, there's pretty good visibility out of it for the driver. You know, we also put, you know, several cameras on it so the driver would have good view of it. We did two different versions of this. They actually make a low mount benching wing too, which only goes up to about 48 inches. So we got trucks set up, you know, with the tall benching and the low profile benching on it. So we've had these for about 3 years. They've worked really good for us. You know, these trucks are a lot more mobile throughout the state than what the AASHOs are. You know, you can put your equipment on these and be able to run them down the highway at highway speeds, you know, and they're really mobile. You know, because one of the things that we did find out, you know, when we start getting events like this, that the crews, you know, that are involved or in the area where this kind of stuff hits, they're so busy trying to dig themselves out that we send crews in from other parts of the state to them, you know, and actually plow them out so they can get out on their highways and start doing what they need to do. And that's where these trucks really come into effect, is to be able to move them throughout the state, you know, easily. You know, one of the other things that we kind of got into this year, and, you know, it says salt storage on there, and, you know, we're equipment guys. What do we got to do with salt storage, right? Some of the issues we have up there is in the summertime, we can get all the salt we want. You know, in the wintertime, we can't get any. So we were kind of challenged, you know, is there something that we can do, you know, to help with our salt storage? You know, most of the time you just, you know, fill your domes up as full as you can get them and hope that's enough. But, you know, what we did this year, you know, is we went back and kind of started looking at what we could do for salt storage. You know, and we come up with this machine here. It's made by Lofness, but you know, any of you guys that are kind of in the Midwest and stuff, you travel around the country and you see these big grain bags sitting out in the field full of grain. You know, we decided to take a look at that and do some testing this summer to see how well them bags hold up to salt. So we did some testing with it. I actually brought them into one of our winter areas out there, and you know, started loading these bags full of salt, and we were just going to let them sit there all summer to see how the salt reacts in the bags, to create extra storage for us in the summertime when we can get the salt. So in the winter when we need it, we can just bust the bags open, we'll have the salt. But you know, with that, it's a whole new concept on the equipment side of things, because now we got to figure out, you know, the equipment that we need to be able to do this, you know, and it's really a pretty simple process. You know, they just load it up and it ends up in a bag like this out in the yard there. You know, but that's that's where as you move forward, you know, I mean, and people start thinking about different ideas and stuff, you know, on whether it's salt storage or, you know, just what can we do to meet our standards better, you know, and change our equipment up because we can't get help. You know, it always seems like it comes back to the equipment thing, you know. So, you know, that's why I say when they come to me this summer and say, well, you know, salt storage, it's like, well, you need a loader, you know, or you need a conveyor. You know, you never think of having to go out and start looking at pieces of equipment like this to start loading a bag full of salt. So that's just some of the innovations that we're kind of working on and doing in South Dakota. And I guess with that, I'll turn it over to Mark.
Okay, thank you, Brad.
Yep.